Hello there. I'm quite excited for today because we're going to be checking out this. That is an in-box Apple II Plus. Now, I've been keeping an eye out for an older Apple II for a long time because if I'm going to experience an Apple II, I wanted it to be an earlier model rather than the IIe Platinum that I have, which is frankly somewhat of an abomination with how late it was released. So when this one popped up local, I knew I had to get it. And oddly, it also came with some other interesting things, but we're not gonna look at these today. These will happen later, although probably gonna take a look inside of the 2GS here in a bit. Because the reality is I really want to know if this Apple II Plus is going to work, and I have a lot of learning to do because I've never used one. So today I am really looking forward to getting that thing open and checking it out. Now I have opened this and taken a look at it to make sure that, there's a computer there when I bought it, but I haven't gone ahead and tried to power it on or really investigated it too much. Though I do think that even though this was a 16K model originally, which from what I read is maybe less common, this one has been fully upgraded to 64K, and that's kind of interesting, but we'll see that when we get in there, because for now, I want to get it open. Now, I have no idea what a complete Apple II should have, but I'm gonna guess there would be more than a power cable in here, so I would gather that this one is not complete, but it's very intact. So I am quite happy about that. And this was a little weird to figure out how it comes out of here, but I think you're supposed to pull on the cardboard, but this piece of foam is separated. So I'm gonna pull on the computer itself. There we go. Okay, there we are. Oh boy. There it is. Now, this is definitely a used example. Some wear there, some scuffs there, but it looks really good to me. Man, it is cool to see one of these in person finally. Oh boy. Now, if you're less familiar with the Apple II computers, like I realistically am, you may benefit from knowing that this is a II Plus. Before this, there was a plain Apple II. After this, there was the Apple IIe, and then finally the Apple IIe Platinum. Now, this computer was first released in 1979, from what I understand, 2 years after the original Apple II. So this is still a 70s computer technically, and I'm curious to see the date code on the chips to know when this particular one was made, because, well, it's just fun to find that kind of thing out. Now, perhaps the absolute coolest thing about any Apple II is this. Pop off the top, and inside you have the ability to put add-in cards. Neither the PET nor the TRS-80 had this capability, and this just leads into just how confusing Apple as a company was, because they were the first to have add-in cards, and then later they would eschew them, and then now they have the giant cheese grater Mac Pro that has enormous proprietary add-in cards and still has PCIe. It's just really weird. So Apple, at first, was one of the more open and expandable computers, and it's just cool to see that here. Now, I'm definitely new to these computers, so I'm not an expert, but I've tried to do some research and understand what's going on with this one here. So let's start off with the RAM, because as I mentioned, I think this one is 64K already. This white square right here in the silk screen is where the RAM goes, as is very obviously labeled. And I just have to say, that is an extremely nice touch right here to have these white resistor packs in line with the white silk screen. That is just ridiculous. But this first row of RAM right here is all Hitachi brand RAM and looks much older, but then we have a bunch of Fairchild RAM up there. And that makes me think this is likely the original RAM, and then this was added later. But then there's this thing, which is plugged into one of the RAM sockets down there. This, it turns out, is a language card. Now again, I'm new here, so I may not be totally accurate, but my understanding is that this does two things. One is that it allows more RAM to be placed in here, and we can see our Fairchild RAM right there that was likely originally right there. Then we have more banks right there to bring it up to 64K. Then the second thing that it does is most likely this, which is add a ROM to boot from a disk drive. I don't see a disk drive controller in here, do you? Well, that's interesting, but we'll get to that in a moment. But those are the two functionalities that I believe this provides. So this is a 64K RAM system, which is really cool. Now, again, I'll mention here, I'm very much a rookie with Apple II stuff. So when I was even opening this to do this shot, I saw this thing and I was like, what on earth is that little board down there? Turns out it's just a daughter board for the keyboard, because I think they wanted this to be cheap one-sided PCB, and then this has the actual controller IC on it. So yeah, I'm still very wet behind the ears with this stuff. But there are some things that are obviously different. Like in here, we have this thing, which appears to be an RF output mod because the Apple II here has a composite video jack on the back right there that you would connect to a monitor. Now, it's my understanding that there are not any official Apple II Plus or regular II era monitors. The first one Apple designed for these systems is for the IIe. So on the one hand, I don't have to worry about tracking down an Apple II Plus monitor, but on the other hand, there isn't one that's really iconic to go with this system. Now, the monitor situation for this computer is even more interesting because I believe the Apple II is the only computer of the first three that can do color out of the box here. So using it with a television with that modification could actually be pretty cool, because normally the kind of thing I would throw on something like this would be like the AMDEC 300 that I have. But when I look at other people using Apple computers from this era, for some reason they all seem to gravitate towards a monitor like this. So I guess I'll do the same here as well for now as we start. This is an Ikegami monochrome composite monitor, and I think one of the reasons they do this is because it looks pretty sweet when you stack some drives next to it and fills out the space nicely, at least as long as you get all the drives on there without them being crooked. So I may go this route, at least for a little while and for tech stuff, because this is going to be a 40 column display, so I won't feel like I'm too cramped on that little 9-inch CRT. But we'll see how it goes, and I might break out a television and use it with the RF output. It's nice to have that option here. Now, unfortunately, I'm the first person to bring that computer and those disk drives together because I've had those for a long time now in preparation of eventually getting an Apple II. I've seriously been on the hunt for something like this for a long time. But at least I have built up an assortment of other things. Like this is an Apple II disk controller that I was given by Disappearing Ink when I went to LTX. But I also have this now, which is a brand new disk controller that we'll probably check out with this thing. But I think I need to look at something else first. This Apple II GS I got with this thing. Now this box is in very, very rough condition, but hey, how many boxes for 2 GSs do you have? They're not exactly common, so, you know, I'm gonna take the wins that I can get. I don't actually fully understand the relation between that and this, but I do know that at least some of these cards are interoperable because I have an additional peripheral that goes with this that we are not going to take a look at today because it deserves its own video, and I found the controller card for that in here, thankfully. So what I want to do here is get this open again so that I can know exactly what all I've got for Apple IIs. And opening 2 GSs is kind of a pain in the butt. You have these plastic latches that have to clear the case, and the plastic just feels like it's gonna break, and ugh, it's not very fun. Oh, okay, there we are. Oh, man. Now, this is the second 2 GS I've owned. The other one actually also given me by Disappearing Ink, but I have not had the opportunity to use it, but at least I got a disk drive with that one, so hopefully I'll be able to make this one work at some point. But one of the things that I know here is that these cards plug into the front using an IDC connector, I think. So those aren't going to be compatible with the Apple II Plus, but these over here should be. So the first thing we have, let me look at what this is. We have Apple II SCSI card. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be pretty helpful, I think. So that'll allow me to connect hard drives and CD drives, I guess, to an Apple II. The other card has these weird cables poking out of the back, and it's also connected to the front for J25. I don't know what that is. So we have Supersonic MD Ideas for this weird red card. And then this is Supersonic Digitizer by MD Ideas. Is this a sound card? These look, well, they're not bipolar caps there. Yeah, I have no idea what this is. I'm gonna go do a quick search. There's an RCA jack right there. That's strange. I'm gonna do a quick search on Google, see if I can figure out what this is, and then I will be right back. Okay, I found an installation manual for this thing. So that is a stereo sound card for the Apple IIgs specifically here. So this will live in this computer. And this is, I'm guessing, an audio recorder add-on, which it seems they didn't really use since there's no cable connected there. But yeah, so that's what this is. I'm gonna guess only really applicable for the Apple II. So there is nothing else you need to worry about grabbing from here, which is a little disappointing because that means there are no more goodies to use with the 2 Plus. Oh well, at least I know now. Well, maybe that SCSI card would work in this, but I want to try out the older usage of this first, maybe even going back to cassette for loading software, but we'll see how that goes. But for now, I have something else I want to do. I'm sure some of you have been screaming, shut up and turn it on. And unfortunately for you, I'm not as foolhardy as that, because the first thing I want to do is take out that power supply and take a look at it, because I've already done research on these, and I know for a fact there are 2 reefers in there, so I want to get those out. So, looking at how this goes together, there are no screws here. It looks like the way that you remove the hard drive is by taking out these 4 screws on the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, but I can tell that that would drop down. So I'm gonna take the loose piece of packing foam from the box, and I'm gonna put it under the power supply there, so it'll stay in place as I remove those screws without becoming an issue. Okay, I can definitely feel it's loose in there, so I'm gonna wrap my fingers around and hold it in place as I flip this back over. Now I can remove that and probably remove the language card here for a moment to get to this weird connector for power. It's almost automotive looking. That's kind of strange. But, yep, my suspicions were correct. We can just pull this out. Oh, that's awesome! They even have the voltages listed on the backside, so we can go test this. Oh, glorious cadmium zinc plating. You will always be the best surface finish. But enough of that. We need to get into this thing, and this doesn't look very fun. I see a rivet here, as well as here, and potentially these on the outside, as well as 8 screws to get in. So I'm gonna see if I can figure out how to crack this thing open. And it doesn't look like it's gonna be very fun. Yeah, so the rivet has to come out in the middle. All right, quick Google search later, and yep, it looks like you have to draw actually only these ones on the side, thankfully, but yep, looks like that's what I'll be doing. Really not thrilled about the idea of sprinkling a bunch of metal shrapnel into a power supply, but I don't appear to have a choice. So we're gonna go ahead and do this. Now I put this upside down, presuming that the PCB is up here and that the shrapnel will hopefully fall down, and then I'm gonna attempt to not turn it the other direction after I start this. Then I'm gonna drill into it from the side with a just barely undersized metal bit. Okay, sure. That's a horrifying feeling when it just pushes in. Okay, the sides do spread apart now, so that's good. Okay. Oh, I was wrong. Delightful. Oh, that sucks. Okay, so yeah, all the metal bits went the opposite direction. Well, the more you know. Okay, I've done a bit more digging and research on this, and, well, for one, it looks like it's still stock. I thought it might have been recapped at first because I was looking at the screws down here and I noticed every single one of them, the white paint or glue or whatever is cracked, and I thought maybe some weirdo actually like opened this up and like tried to perfectly recreate how it was put together, but I'm guessing it's just age and shrinking and stuff. But I don't see a reefa cap, so I don't think I have to worry about that here. But I also don't see any Apple II power supplies in this configuration online. Mine has obviously caps here, but it seems like most of them have them going down about right there. So I really don't know. I'm just gonna hope that that means that this version of the power supply design is more reliable and most people aren't taking it apart trying to get help with it on the internet, because yeah, I have no idea. That's a little weird, but yeah, I don't see any Rifa brand caps in here at all, and what I can see looks fine other than this cap here is dented. That's a little strange there. I don't know why that would have happened. But yeah, maybe just during assembly or something got crushed. Hopefully it's fine. But I think we can put power to this and test the voltages. Hopefully it works unloaded. Some of these older power supplies don't. So if it doesn't work, I'm not going to write it off yet. And we'll just get it connected to the computer, or maybe I'll attempt to load test it with an actual load, but we'll see. Okay, now, as I mentioned, there is a pinout right there of what this connector is. It doesn't show which side's rounded like this actually is, but it does show that one side is completely ground and there's two black wires there, so pretty sure I can figure this out. So we're gonna check the voltages here, but the first thing I need to do is give it power and see what happens. Didn't explode. I like it when that happens. Okay, so let's check our voltages. I'm guessing is 12, looks good. -5, all right. It's gonna be regular 5, then -12. All right, I'm happy with those. Little low, but again, not being loaded can cause some wonky things, but yeah, that looks pretty good. I probably didn't need to open this, but I feel more comfortable having done so. All right, that's all back together now. I'm not going to try and replace the rivets. I think that's a waste of time, since the reality is I'm probably gonna have to open this again and actually recap it at some point. So yeah, that's fine by me. But I don't see any reason I can't put this back in the computer and try it out. So, oh man, I can find out if my Apple II Plus works. I'm excited. I have the power supply back in now, but I was paying closer attention this time and realized this sticker is probably from the local computer store where they bought this and contains the original purchase date of October 2nd, 1980. And if I flip the system over and we take a look at the 6502 here, we can see that the date code on the 6502 is the 19th week of 1980. So I'm pretty sure we can say this is a second year Apple II Plus. Okay, this is it, moment of truth. This is all connected. I have the power cable in there. It's actually the power cable that came in the box, which I've never seen an ICC 13 connector that says patent pending on it, so that's interesting. But this should work. The monitor here is connected. It just has like a weird scan rate when there's no video, so don't worry about the flicker. I think I've stalled enough. Let's try it. It lives! Wow, that's that's awesome. Okay, that's a functional Apple II. Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. All right, so it's looking like it's working here. So I've got it back together because I want to test it in its most basic configuration. Emphasis on basic, because I don't actually know how to use the Applesoft basic. So I picked up this a long time ago. This is the actual Applesoft basic manual, though it is for the 2C, 2E, 2GS, so it probably has functions that this doesn't have, but I'm hoping this just gives me a rough idea of how to like actually do things like loops and conditions. That seems like something that would be helpful. So I just kind of want to try out doing some basic stuff. What is this home command? Your screen gets cluttered after you've run and typed a few programs. A home instruction clears the screen and places the cursor in the upper left. Okay, so they call clear home. See, this is why I needed to know this stuff. Whoa. Oh. There's no backspace. There's a reset key, but it doesn't do anything. Actually, this seems familiar. Control, reset. Whoa, why do I have two cursors now? Is blink a status byte for characters, kind of like it is on Linux, so you can have that. All right, interesting. Let's try home. No, all right. That looks normal. Print. Oh, it's got UK quote mark. This is a typing test. So really nice keyboard. Wow. That's cool. I was not expecting that. It's actually genuinely pleasant to use. Yeah, here, let me try something. This. Okay, so yeah, I do not have lowercase characters by the looks of it. Let's try real basic here. 10, print, hello, world. Okay. 20, go to 10. Run. Excellent. Okay, now reset, I'm guessing. No, reset is not break. Man, that is, oh, that's cool. The spring resistance for the reset key is way stronger than the other keys, so you can't accidentally press it. That is a nice touch. Okay, control reset, there we go. I only know that because I set up a cassette program that I have, and I think I know where that is, but I don't know where any of my cassette players are. That does run on an Apple II, and I set that up on my II Platinum for LTX when I did that. So that's the only experience I have with an Apple II, and that cassette was brutal. We will not be trying it today, because if I remember correctly, you have to drop into the monitor and load like a shim program to decompress the data or something crazy like that. It's not for today, because I lost my directions on how to do it, and I'd have to find them all over again. All right, this is an interesting point. I think this was one of the differences between the plus and later pluses, decimal values. So print 3.5 plus. That's a weird location for plus. Plus, let's say 2.5. Okay, and we get 6. Okay, that's correct. All right. I guess I could have got that from rounding too, now that I think about it. And so we should have 3.3 here. Or 5.3, math. Geez, thank you, computer, for not being as bad at math as I apparently am. But okay, it can do floating point to a degree. I don't know how much it can, though. So we got 8 decimals of precision there. That's pretty good. Okay, I'm curious to try out variables here now. So let's do print. I just want to see, does it have like a predefined for pi? It does not. Okay, so let's set pi to a more accurate value. So pi equals 3.141592653589799. So we'll see where it truncates this. I'm gonna guess if it's 8 digits like before, 1526. So it'll be 9266. If it truncates, actually it should be 265 because that's a 3 there. But we'll see. So yeah, all right. There, okay, and now we will print pi again. If I knew how to go up, I would try that, but I don't know that I can. Print pi, okay. So it did truncate it to 8 characters, but 926692653. It kind of rounded really poorly there. That's interesting. Okay. But there we okay, you can say variables and they don't have like a prefix character. That's interesting. Good to know. And then it has a section on using files. Okay, so cat to do disk directory listings makes sense. Load and save. Does it have a C load for cassette type stuff? Actually, this manual being for up to the 2GS may have eschewed cassettes by this point, so may not cover that. So it just got to a section about using a printer here, which is something I am very interested in, but I don't have a serial card. The the Image Writer 1 here is a serial printer, so I'm gonna have to get, it looks like there's 2 different kinds of serial cards. There's the regular Apple serial card and a super serial card, and then third-party ones. got a search running for a serial card now, so I can try and connect that. So I will not be able to test the printer stuff, but it looks like it's pretty intelligently designed. It would look like this, PR numeral 1 octothorpe, however you want to think about it. And then anything that would be printed to the screen would then go to the printer instead. So that's pretty cool. I'm not sure how you designate the printer device, like on PC, it'd be COM1 or LPT1. I'm gonna guess here it's about to tell me. Sending computer's output to the screen again, type PR0, okay. But all right, I could easily, oh, I'd like to know that, REM, just REM for comments, okay. I could easily keep playing with this for longer here, just because this is too much fun. But I think now what I want to do is try and get discs working. Now I could just put in the loose disc controller I have, but I want to have the full experience. I at least get to shortcut here at the start because I have some Apple II software, so I'm hoping I can make some of this work. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and install this in here, I guess. Here's something that I have a question for those of you who may be familiar with Apple IIs. So this, really hard to get off, for one, but it looks like it has these, not quite Velcro, but like same-sided, like pokey blob. I don't know how to describe this. It's weird. Anyway, are these stock? And how common is it for the glue to release and not work anymore? Because, yeah, that definitely happened. Also, like, side note here, this is plastic. Look how ridiculously thick that plastic is. That's just delightful. I love it. It's extremely wasteful, don't get me wrong, but yeah, it's cool. Okay, from here, this gets interesting, and I think it's worth mentioning. And you know, what's funny is I don't think what I'm about to say is true for that later floppy drive based on how many conductors there are. But this is not quite a floppy controller. You'll notice that there is no one main logic IC on here. And that's because the floppy drives themselves have integrated electronics. I touched on this in my video about the 4 floppy setup on a PC. Well, Apple, what they did when they were putting together this computer, they bought the mechanical components for a drive from Shugart, but then they created their own internal drive logics for it. So they have completely custom floppy drives here. The idea was that they were able to make them slightly cheaper this way. If I remember correctly, it wasn't to be proprietary, so I won't chastise them for that. But it does mean that these are weird and proprietary, so if you want to use these with something like this, you need this controller. Now, the other annoying thing here is that these drives are hardwired to their internal controller, although you can probably unplug it from within there. But then they are hardwired to the connector here. So when you connect a drive and plug it into the system and then put the lid on, they're basically permanently attached, unless you open the thing and disassemble it. So even if this had a disk controller here before, which I'll get to in a moment, which would make sense, it would have been removed, most likely, and kept with the drives because they're linked like this. You cannot externally disconnect them. It's kind of annoying. Now, I say this may have had a disk controller in it previously, and that's because of the language card. This ROM, I believe, will allow this system to boot from disks. So getting that language card may have been a really fantastically helpful thing. Elsewise, I think I would have to go into the system monitor, which I didn't even explore here yet, and type in a shim to try and do that, I think. So, yeah. Now, those of you who are watching this and are familiar with Apple IIs and may have been looking forward to the fun moment coming up, unfortunately I have to disappoint you because during my research on this and trying to figure out about the power supply, I was spoiled on the fact that, probably beneficially, this card needs to go in the rightmost slot. So I'm not going to try and put it over here. Apparently, this only works over there. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I don't see any notes about that, but apparently it needs to go only in the rightmost slot. So we're going to do that. Here's a interesting thing about this system. The backside of the computer here has these like little slots cast into it. On later Apple IIs, I think even just the 2E, these are like punch outs for D subs, but not on this one. So I think this right here is the slot that you're supposed to stick your ribbon cables for your floppy drives through. So it'd go like this, approximately. Yeah, so something like that. I don't like it, but that's how it goes. So I just realized these must also get power from this. That's kind of awful. Wow. I never noticed that before. Well, all right. Here's hoping that these work, because I have never been able to test them, and I just have no clue. You know, I knew these drives were hardwired to the computer like this, but I'd never put two and two together. The reason everyone must insist on putting their Apple II drives on top of the computer is because you cannot easily remove them. So if you want to move the system around, you want them on top of it so you can just pick the whole thing up and go. So finally, I understand why people do this. And a little fun thing here, since I have this tiny 9-inch monitor with the drives, I get to do the kind of like uber fancy museum setup here with the drives and the monitor, and yeah, this is just kind of fun. I'm gonna get some cleaning discs for these and then try and cat those so we can see if this works, or it'll, like, you know, maybe clean the drives, I don't know. And then once I'm reasonably confident that they won't totally trash the discs, we will try something here. So we'll see. All right, before I re-wet my disc here, let's see if the system actually does anything with these. I think it's the language card trying to boot from it, so that's excellent. I don't know what it's going to do when it can't. Is it, do I gotta, is there a thing I can do? Okay, control reset. Okay, cool. So cat, syntax error. Is there supposed to be a number after that for which drive? I forgot to mention this in the video, but I'd kind of silently decided to try and learn how to use the Apple II with just the paper documentation that I had in person, rather than spending a bunch of time looking stuff up on the internet. So I am going to miss a couple of things here that I think I now know after having recorded this, but I did not know these back then because I was kind of just having fun doing this the way that you would have if you just bought this computer new. But this manual is not quite right for everything that I have here. Reading the catalog, cat. Okay, so I'm gonna guess this is where the later Apple IIs and the Plus diverge. So this may not have cat. Well, since it spins the disk, we can attempt to boot it directly. Well, we can clean it first, I mean, by it spinning the disk. So let me get some isopropanol in that, and then we can just pop a disk in here. And okay, let's see how this goes. This doesn't really look that dirty, so that's a good sign. I'm going to give it a second before I put in anything, so any isopropanol or residue can dry off of there. I'm going to put this in a sleeve and hope that it stays damp for the second drive. I wonder, are these single-sided or double-sided drives? I don't actually know. That one appears to be single-sided, as does that. Okay, let's give it a shot. No idea what it's going to do. Don't even know if this disk is bootable. This is a duplicate of copy 2 plus. Ah! Yes! It is bootable and it worked. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's so cool. We can boot software off floppies. Okay, can I, yes, I want a catalog disk. I want to try and clean the second drive now. So I'm gonna put this back in there. Try and get that one going as well. Return, normal, disk A and B, that's weird. Oh, ugh. Yeah, no kidding, I/O error. Oh, that one might need some love. I'm gonna try this without the cleaning disk in there. So it seems like the clamp part might be awful. It may just be, it may just need to be lubricated or something. Okay, it might actually work. Since I have a copy of Copy 2 Plus, I'm gonna try reading Copy 2 Plus with this. It works, okay, it works. It just sounds horrifying, but it does work. Let's see if there's a giant gash in the data layer, and that's where the felt is, and no, it's all good. Okay, so both drives work. One just is harrowing, but they do work. Okay, let's do this. Disk wear. All right, I am going to attempt. This also has Games 1 written on it, so I'm not. I don't know if it's actually going to function, but I'm going to try booting this. No idea what it's going to do. Also, you know what? I think turn off the computer without the that might have been a good idea. I don't know if the camera will have caught it. I saw the LED here flash as I turned the computer off. Tells me I probably shouldn't have disks in there when I turned the system off. So, yeah. I'm guessing that disk has been modified. So, I'm gonna... How do I do this when it's running? I guess I'm just gonna pull it out. All right, let's try this. So, DOS 3.3 System Master and see how it goes. Yes! Yes! Oh, those drives sound horrible, but they're working. All right, now I'm gonna put diskware in here, and I'm just curious, cat is, I still can't cat, huh? Okay. What, how? What do I do then? Durr? Okay. What does DOS do then? Okay, I have ProDOS for 64K 2 Plus. This is, so maybe we can boot this. I just want to see if I can cat a disk, because so far, yeah, not succeeding there. So, all right, shut this off. ProDOS for 64K 2 Plus, which we have. I think. Pretty sure. Oh, that one was a lot happier. Okay. Ah, okay. That's a little cooler. I'm gonna go with basic and then just see if I have cat yet. To return to menu, run startup. Interesting. Okay. Cat. Okay, we can cat. We can cat. All right, I'm gonna put a disk in the other drive. I have no idea how I cat that drive, but we've actually catted now. Cat, maybe it'll just detect that it's in there and it'll go through all the drives. I think that's how TRSADs work. Okay, and no. Okay, cat 2, syntax error, okay. Cat B. Path not found. Look at files on your disk, use a cat command, get a type, list of all the files. So it shows cat and then files. Of course, your screen will look different if the disk already has other programs on it. Okay, but what if I am a baller and I have 2 drives? Yeah, that's all it says about cat. out of curiosity, I'm gonna put this disk in drive 1, since Cat will work on that, because I just want to know what's on it, because I think it's maybe been overwritten with games. Or it's just toast. There are some games in here, so I want to try one of those. Okay, Galaxian Sabotage, Asteroid Field, Space Eggs. Okay, let's look at this. Okay. Let's look at Jungle Hunt. Maybe that'll work. The reality is Jungle Hunt may not even be like a file. I don't know how this works. This may be a bootable disk. Yeah. You know what? Let's just try booting it. I'm feeling like that's not working. I'm gonna go through some more of my disks and see if any of them will load, and see if there's anything at all that we can run here. That was every single one of my labeled Apple II disks. None of them worked. I think I know what the problem is, though. DOS to ProDOS conversion. So I'm guessing the way that ProDOS stores the table of contents for disks is incompatible with DOS, and that they are not the same, because I put the other copy of Copy 2 Plus in there, and it wasn't able to list those files. The Copy 2 Plus listed its own files just fine, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to put Copy 2 Plus in here, and then I'm going to try to list the files from a disk within that instead. So here's the Galaxian disk, all right. Okay, disk IO, all right. To just sanity check, here is the other Copy 2 Plus disk that just had the label fall off, I guess. That just did not catalog within ProDOS. And there the files do show up. So they must use totally different ways of storing this stuff. I bet some of these will actually catalog here. Bingo, files. So I can confirm that it's possible for the drives to read some of these disks. ProDOS is just not capable. This is interesting here. The whole concept of what I'm going through here is learning Apple II. This is what I want to do. So I now know ProDOS and DOS, or just the enhanced version of the Applesoft ROM, I'm assuming, are not compatible with each other. So from here, I need to figure out if I can upgrade the ROM in this to have the newer features, or maybe there's a card I can get that adds that stuff, because I don't know how I'm supposed to progress from here. Yeah, out of curiosity. So this is a soft term copy, I'm guessing, just for giggles. See if it's bootable. I have the actual soft term disks here as well. Looks like that's going to be bootable, though. All right, soft. Oh, that's fancy. Graphics. That's our first time seeing graphics on here. That's cool. Whoa, keyboard expander not found. Okay, so there was one that says it does not need. Oh, I think that was the one that said it didn't need the keyboard expander with internal keyboard. Okay, yeah, so that's a no. Interesting, though. So I'm going to guess that these discs are copies of these discs, and that I probably can't use these. So I clearly have a lot more to learn and figure out how to use with this, and figure out what the next steps I want to take are, because from here, I need to go do a lot of research to figure out what I can actually do with this, and what I maybe need to get for it to make it more usable, because it's got some things that are confusing me a lot here. Again, DOS not being able to catalog disks? What? How is it even possible? But we're definitely not done with this machine at all. It will be coming back, at the least, if not for something like this. which has a hard drive for it. How cool is that? So we got to check that out at some point. But I need to learn more about how to use this thing, which is kind of a goal of mine that I'm thinking might be kind of cool to check out. Because for me, this is again going to be probably the oldest Apple computer I will ever get. So this represents the beginnings. And I'm wondering what it might be like to try and go from here through more Apple computers after I get comfortable with this one. So I've kind of got an idea for a series on experiencing all Apple hardware. So I'm going to toy with that idea with a bit. But for now, yeah, I need to go do some research and maybe poke around in the Apple II community to get some ideas of where to go next, because I am really looking forward to learning about this thing, but clearly I need to know where is going to be the next place to start. Well, that's it for now. If you enjoyed this video about me experiencing an Apple II for the first time seriously, then you may want to subscribe, because I will definitely be bringing this thing back as I get more comfortable with it. If you want to help support the channel, you can find me on Patreon or get a shirt like this one. But that's it for now, and I will see you next time.